sometimes we may feel like we need to, and sometimes we feel like there isn't another way unless we do this. But there is no point in advocating for somebody else's lack of loyalty, lack of communication, lack of honesty, lack of aligning their words with their actions. It is not our job. It's a unhealed wound. I don't want to say unhealed because I genuinely have worked through a lot of childhood wounds, but a childhood wound was like low-key ripped back open recently, and it wasn't a big deal. Like the situation itself wasn't a problem, because I didn't make it a problem, because it wasn't a big deal. But for some reason, it's the end of the day, and I just feel so depleted, and I'm like, I feel incredibly alone. I feel so disappointed, and it keeps hitting me over and over. Wow, I've had to work through so much alone. I've had to work through things I shouldn't have. I've had to fill in spaces that should have been filled in for me. I've had to exist and take up space in a way that I shouldn't have had to. People should have just meant what they said. People should have just shown up the way that they said they were going to. Never in my life. I will feel things. I will feel like I have to sometimes just because I care. No matter how much somebody kind of isn't right to me, I will still feel love and care and potential in them. Like, I see potential because I'm like, just because somebody isn't lining up their words with their actions, or it's like, it's not, okay, listen. It's not about me expecting too much of somebody. It's not about me putting somebody on a pedestal so high, which I do need to work on. I will admit that. I will admit that. Not funny. You know, I will admit that I place people up too high sometimes. Kind of hit me the other day that I'm no longer in a certain age group. I've kind of entered this new group of adulting, and I'm working through that, and I'm just like, no, I'm not gonna say that. It's just like a lot of adults, a lot of grown-up people, a lot of grown adults can't work through their own shit, and they use other people to fill in voids that they can't work through alone. Or, you know. Anyway, let me go back to the beginning. I got kind of low-key triggered. I don't like that word, but the other day I got triggered by something. I realized that I had worked through so much alone growing up, and how it wasn't fair, and how I've had to fill in spaces that I shouldn't have had to fill in. Because I did, I learned so much. It was shitty that it happened, but I'm at a good point now. Maybe if I had more guidance, maybe if that person filled in the space like they said they were going to, I would be at a better spot. But because they didn't, I'm at an even better spot. I had to work through that. I was crying in the dark. Not had a good cry in a while. I shouldn't have had to speak up about something. Something should have just been spoken about. I shouldn't have had, the wound was like, I shouldn't have been the one to initiate something that somebody else had already set in motion. You know what I mean? That was the wound. And again, the situation wasn't insanely negative or insanely like, oh, this is rooted by malice. This is rooted by like terror and pain. Forefront of it was, oh, the reason this is happening. Am I making sense? The reason why this is happening, you know, but the stem, it hit me, it brought me back to when I was a kid, where I would beg for something, or I'd be like, why do I have to initiate time with a parent, or why do I have to do this, or why do I feel so, why would I shouldn't have to exist in a space where it feels off-putting for me to initiate, oh, like, you know, a child shouldn't have to feel that way. There are so many miserable people, and I do not have the time. I will always do my best to show people positive light. I'm not going to direct your entire life because you are miserable and I am not. I thought that because of, like, if something's set in stone, if somebody says something to me and then it doesn't line up, and then they act in a way that doesn't line up with that, I'm not going to base my worthiness off of that. Because I have created this space where I validate myself. And because I've been able to do that, I can now enter any type of situation and not base my entire worthiness off of how somebody else reacts around me, how somebody else lacks, how somebody else, goes about their day, how they see the world, how their mindset is. I have been through literal hell. I know so many of us have been through such, there's no words to like describe the pain that some of us feel. I encourage you to feel it all, but never try to hurt me with it. I wrote that you have to feel everything, but you can't let that be something to hurt people with. You can't say all of this and then just not line that up with your actions. That affects people, Anyway. And then something else happened that day where something wasn't communicated the way that it should have been. It was a little awkward, it was a little weird, and I shouldn't have to be the one to always initiate these kinds of conversations. That's where it was stemming from. It was initiation. In the greatest interest of anybody for me to place people on a pedestal or to expect people to do things. But the entire thing is I wouldn't do that to me. Because it's kind of like a fundamental value of a human being. You can't put a pause on something and then expect somebody else to press the unpause. You can't do that in life. People have feelings, people get hurt, people want to have conversations. People want more than just, I'm just ranting now. You know what I mean? I have such love and respect for certain people, but there are certain scenarios where I lose a little bit of respect when people want all of this, want all of that out of you, but don't want conversation. But don't want to get to the root of things. Or like, what do you think's gonna happen, my friend? Like, we have days, right? I will never bash somebody for having a bad day. I encourage you to have a bad day. You need to have a bad day once in a while. You know what I mean? But holy fuck. I can't be just a clutch for miserable people all the time. I can't do that. I can't be that for people. I thought that the dynamic would be great. My positive light that I try to put out in the world is never going to be dimmed because I'm trying too hard to fix somebody else's miserable life. There's only so much I can do for somebody. And when that comes to adults, basic life skills and shit, there are just certain things I should not have to initiate. I'm able to work through my emotions. If you're not able to, there's only so much I can do for you. I want to be a light for people. I want to show them that, like, their life doesn't have to be fucking miserable. And if they complain about being miserable and they think everything's just a negative situation, what do you think I'm going to do for you? If you can't regulate that yourself, what can I do for you? Building something with somebody, no matter what degree, has to start with you caring about yourself first. You caring about your life and your values first. You getting your head right. There's no sustainability. I literally made a whole video talking about this. There's no sustainability in a life where you don't care about yourself first. You can't expect to build something with somebody in any form, because if you're not able to build anything within yourself, why the fuck do you expect anything to be happening with somebody else? Because all your energy is just misery. The other night I had to cry and let it out. And I was like, I'm gonna be fine tomorrow, because I usually am. I wrote about it. I was like, right now I'm not feeling good, you know. I have to work through this emotion. I have to figure out why the fuck it hurts so bad. And it's because the entire theme of the day was just like, am I really expected to initiate when this person won't? Why do I have to, like, be the one to say, you know, this is kind of wrong? Why do I always... And I realized that that's a theme of my life, and not just that day. A theme of my life was, for the past couple years, was just, like, feeling such angst and disappointment for people because I didn't want to have to always be the one to initiate a conversation. Always trying to fix something. Always, Sarah, can we relax? Everybody has gone through something tricky. Everybody has gone through something hard. But like I said earlier, you can't hurt people with that. It was so disappointing to be shot back into me as a kid and have to, like, work through that feeling again. It was so disappointing. And like I said, the situation itself was fine, but it was the principle. It was like, there's no room for begging in my life. It's not my job to make people read the room. It's not my job to advocate for your miscommunication. You know, I can't always be that space for people. And unfortunately, a toxic trait of mine is that I will always try to be a clutch. I will always try to be something somebody can lean on, because I just fucking care too much. I just fucking care. I only expect people to show up as they are and work positively to better themselves every single day, but the whole thing, like I said, is just meaning what you say. And time again, people just need to work through certain things. Certain things that I can't work through with somebody, and those kinds of things are just, like, internal. Disembodied vibe, man. The way we act affects other people. Every choice you make affects people. The way you talk to somebody, you know, your tone of voice, you know, like, affects people. Don't talk to people like that, with that tone of voice, and then just expect people to be nice to you when you're fucking rude. Like, it's not that hard to understand. Like, be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna be a little more gentle because I want to experience gentleness towards me, so why the fuck would I just continue putting out something that isn't? God. Still willing to fill in spaces, but not at the cost of who I am. I'm not gonna compromise my values, my core values, for somebody else's lack of blank. You know what I mean? You should just mean what you say. Okay, bye. Be the light if you don't see any in the world. Become it. You got it. You're crushing it. I love you. Have a great rest of your day.